I think it's really beneficial, and how I've seen the tools really, really work and carry throughout the organization is when the leaders of the organizations are involved.
We introduced person-centered training as a company-wide requirement for all employees, current and new. And the first group of people we put through was our administrative team. And one of the biggest changes was stopping, not looking at them as groups of people like Bryant or Summit Avenue, the group, and looking at them as individuals and not numbers.
That's how it was. It was a number. You didn't know their names. It was just like, oh, client 11250. Since we've done person-centered training, the residents are first. Their needs are our top priority. I'm not above them. And that was the thinking back in the day, and we have changed so much.
When you come to work, it doesn't have to be as complicated as going through a whole entire person-centered meeting. It can be as simple as having staff come to me and say, I'm really struggling with this person. They're really having a lot of problems, and I just can't seem to make that, make it work. And I would say my first thing out of my mouth was, did you ask them? When you want people to do things that are important for them, figuring out what's important to them. That was a lot, and it made a huge difference in the success that the staff was having. Instead of having a lot of people that we were doing crisis for, we were no longer in crisis as often. My job went from being the fireman or the chief of the fire department to being somebody who could pop around and visit with the people that we're supporting, get to know them on a deeper level, make sure our staff was all on the same page.
Organizations have changed their forms to include language that makes more sense to people, that really focuses on what's important to people, rather than all of the deficit-based stuff that we have done in the past. And I think that's exciting for people. I can tell you about an agency that did something completely different with the way they do an annual planning process. So typically, people want to come in and they want to review what's been on the risk management plan, which it really focuses on what people are not very good at. And one agency decided that's not really what people want to do. We need to be focusing on what that person is good at and what they want to do for their future. And so they took poster boards and they hung them up on the wall, and they said, what's important to Mike? What would Mike love to do this year? And how can we best support Mike to be successful? And they hung those posters on the wall and then invited people almost in kind of an open house way, and had markers around, and people wrote all over the wall. And at the end of the meeting or open house, there were these posters that were filled with really great things about Mike, and Mike was beaming head to toe. And I think a lot of times we see people leave those annual planning meetings not feeling good about themselves or not feeling good about what happened. And why would you? We've just spent all that time talking about what you can't do. This really looks at what you can do and what's important to you.
One of the challenges I've come up against, not only within our own company, the thought process around that, but other companies that I've talked to in the years of doing person-centered thinking, has been the idea that it's more costly. This is a more costly way to do business. And we found within our company, one, it's been less expensive because we don't have to be providing so many hours to people we consider that are non-compliant or having what is known as behavioral issues, because when they're listened to, a lot of those issues go away. And that staff that we're using to put in place for that can be used other places. The initial cost of training may have been a problem, but after that, it was really a cost savings across the company. In every area that we looked, because everybody was jumping in. Our focus is now all on the individuals. So where we would have had to hire somebody to come in and do something, one of our admin might even say, hey, you know what, if somebody just needs a ride to school because they missed the bus, I'll do that. Or not having to put in staff because we don't need as many people to be supporting this person. Or people going from structured group homes into independent housing options where they're only getting 6 hours instead of 24-hour one-on-one staffing. In fact, we have another young man who's about to graduate out of that and go into an independent housing option. And his dollars and cents are going to go from almost $300 some odd a day to $100 some odd a day. And that's the beginning. In the end, he's probably going to be even less.